I have two brief questions I'd like to ask, if I may.
Media. My name is Brendan Malone and you're watching The Daily Question. Today's question of the day: is it acceptable to be critical of Solo, a Star Wars story? Now, the reason I'm asking that question is because I've had people leave comments on my channel, and I've seen comments in other places too, where people are trying to suggest that the negative reaction to Solo, a Star Wars story is nothing more than some sort of unthinking mob mentality bandwagon. Or perhaps it's just people who are trying to make money out of all the negativity. They're just being negative so they can make some cash off the back of it. Or maybe it's just people who are trying to be contrarian for the sake of it. They just want to sort of make themselves stand out from the crowd, like that ultimate movie review hipster who just says something negative because everyone else is saying something positive. Look, I can't speak to the motivations of other people. I don't know why they are doing what they're doing. But one thing I can tell you with absolute certainty: the reason I have been critical of Solo, a Star Wars story, has nothing to do with being on an unthinking mob mentality bandwagon. The reason I have been critical of Solo, a Star Wars story, is because there are things to be critical of. I went to the film, I watched the film, I critically evaluated the film. I was hoping to see a good movie. I came out of the film having been exposed to a mediocre movie. And so I was honest about the flaws in this film. That's how this should work, right? Are we suggesting that the only type of commentary about Solo is to be positive, is to be glowing in what it says, and that anything that is not positive, that is not glowing, is not acceptable? I mean, if you can have people who are on an unthinking negativity bandwagon, a mob of torch-wielding people who are willing to attack a film, isn't it also possible that you can have an unthinking mob of positivity? People who are just being overly positive and who are heaping praise on a film because everyone else is doing it and they haven't really thought things through? See, like I said, I don't know about the actions of other people, but I can tell you what's going on this channel. I actually want these Star Wars films to be good. I want them to be good. I've got kids of my own, and I want my kids to be able to have the experience that I had all those years ago going to see those original trilogy films in the theatres. Those movies, although they were imperfect, they were good stories, they had a good mythology, they had interesting characters, and they were the gold standard for those type of films in their era. You can't say the same of Star Wars under Disney. It's a mess. I wish it wasn't a mess. I wish it was better, because I desperately want my kids to be able to experience some of that magic that I experienced, right? I don't think that's too much to ask. And I'm not going to make the mistake of comparing something like Solo, which was a mediocre film, with something like The Last Jedi, which was a terrible film, and then saying, well, it wasn't as bad as that other film, so maybe it must be good. I'm going to evaluate that film based on its merits. And I'm not just going to go along with the crowd. There are people who are on my channel here who are very supportive of the commentary that I've made about The Last Jedi. They agree with me that it was a terrible film, but they completely disagree with me when I say that Rogue One was actually a good film. And I think Rogue One is the best of the Disney films thus far. Yes, it's imperfect, it's got its faults. It was a film that, another messed up Disney project where there was a rewrite involved. And so some of those problems, they really do make their presence felt in that film. However, overall, this is a good, engaging story, some interesting characters, some meaningful action, and it's a good film. I think it's the best of what they've done so far. But there are people on this channel who agree with a lot of my commentary who totally disagree with me on that point. I'm not just going along with the mob on that. I think they're wrong. I think it's a good film. You see, that's the thing. When you critically evaluate a film, you should critically evaluate each film on its merits. And if you're going to do what I do, which is on this YouTube channel, provide my personal commentary on movies, I think you've got to be honest. You can't just adopt what other people are saying. You've got to have a sense of understanding why, and you've got to have, I think, good evidence and good reasoning for why you think a film is flawed or why you think a film is good. There are movies that I like that other people disagree with me they don't like because they speak to me in a different kind of way. And I get it. Some people are going to go and watch Solo, a Star Wars story, and they're not going to be too bothered by the big technical flaws. They're not going to be bothered by pacing issues and other craftsmanship which is flawed about that film. They just like the idea of a bit of nostalgia, and they had a nostalgia kick, and that was all they wanted. But for me, I'm passionate about good filmmaking, even if it's nostalgic filmmaking. I still think that nostalgia should never be an excuse to allow subpar filmmaking to escape under the radar without any sort of commentary or spotlight being put on it. And by the way, I'm not the only one saying this. I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel, but there are top professional film critics who are making some of these same points that those of us on YouTube are making about this film. This isn't a negative mob mentality bandwagon from my perspective. This is me being honest about a film that I thought was mediocre. The floor is now open. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comment section below what you think. And if you like the content I'm creating and you'd like to see more of it, then please support me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. That's right, I can hear my theme music too. I'll see you tomorrow on The Daily Question.